Where things get really interesting now is when I start turning all the amps on at once for effect. Like on a song like Lucy in the Sky, when it gets to the chorus section, I'm replicating the sound of those vocals. I'm adding the Lone Stars with a pretty good chorusing on it. Giving that one guitar quite a bit of dimension with two very distinctly different amp tones, and also adding a bit of chorusing from the TC on the Lone Stars to kind of spread that signal. Another way that I would run the stilettos occasionally would be to actually use the gain channel on both amps. I've got it on tight gain, but as I would normally on the other clean channel with a tube driver, have the echo plexus in front of the amps. That gets a bit mushy when you've got gain on the amp. So I actually use a couple of deluxe Memory Man echoes in the effects loop. So now the echo is actually coming from the Memory Man. Speaking about, a lot of the lead tones that I'm using on the recording, anytime I plug into a guitar amp and it's got a lead channel, I find myself, once you get a little bit of gain turned up, I find myself turning down the treble and turning down the presence, as everything always seems kind of bright and buzzy to me. Maybe just over the years, my ears have gone towards just a warmer, fatter tone. With the stilettos, as I'm using the old tube driver, the high plate voltage that the stiletto really has this immediate attack, which I really love. And it really warms up this tube driver, which can be kind of a bright, buzzy pedal in itself. But by turning that tone way down, I get so not overly saturated to where again it gets too buzzy, but just has a bit more of a singing quality without being kind of harsh and piercing. As I switch over to the Lone Star, again, I mentioned that earlier, where that was one of the things that really drew me to the amp. Was I actually had plenty of trouble and presence in the tone and turning down the bass. I've almost got the bass off. It's got such a fat tone to start with. Just on the Lone Star by itself. So not too bright, not too buzzy, and then I'll add a little bit of the, for a little bit of that extra sustain, I'll use the BB preamp. So I've got, again, just a clean channel. The Carl Martin compressor on it. It's over. So a little glassy. I mean, I've got on the guitar, it's not actual single coil pickups, but they're single coils kind of voiced, but they're actually humbuckers. But it sounds nice with these and with a traditional single coil. More of that glassy. Like that. Add a bit of chorus to it. All these amps that we're running, both the Lone Stars and the Stilettos, are running into another room where we have 4 Mesa Boogie Rectifier 212 speaker cabinets, all of which are loaded with Celestion Vintage 30s. That one cabinet has always been my go-to. I mean, I've used it now for over 10 years. I really love the sound of it. It's just got a really nice, tight, low end to it and a very pleasant top. So it's been my go-to cabinet for a long time. So the last several records have been exclusively that cabinet, basically. As far as miking techniques, we've always started with the SM57. It's just such a great standard go-to microphone for guitar sounds. And this time around, we've actually added a few things to that. There's some vintage Beyer M160s, and also there's some Audix D2 mics, which I'd actually used to use on my drums, but they sound great. But it's really just about getting the tone out of the amp and then find the sweet spot on the speaker. Spend a little bit of time with mic placement. I think one of the things that really helped me in the process was I had played a good bit of jazz, in my earlier years. Having learned, how to play a melody with a chord and sometimes bass line supporting that. Even though that kind of full chording can be pretty messy if you're playing with a distorted tone, with a clean tone, everything speaks a bit more clearly. So having had a little bit of experience with, how to voice that melody, have some chord structure underneath it, I think really helped me come up with the arrangements for this type of thing, even though what I'm doing is much simpler by some out of necessity because of playing with more of a distorted tone. Some things just laid nicely on the guitar, like the intro to Lucy in the Sky. Originally played on the keyboard, but just lays great on the guitar. So then, just the melody. All I need is that melody and the bass line. So it's... And of course, the benefit of some open strings ringing can be nice too to help kind of fill out the chord. Again, all I've got going on there, I've got root and melody. Then the chorus, I might add a little bit more to the voicing. And so forth. So with each song, I would just start off really just playing the melody, finding out where that was going to speak well on the guitar, and then start kind of adding to it. I should also point out, I did the entire arrangement of the record by memory. I thought it was kind of important to approach it that way, because I knew with just the one guitar, it would be impossible for me to go back and try to transcribe all the parts and figure out how I was going to play all this. I just wanted it to be that musical memory that I have of the record.